Blake Hutchison is the general manager for Luxury Escapes and has a solid background in startups, travel, and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Blake Hutchison.
Hi, I'm Shane Jolly and welcome to Luxury Escapes, a series that takes you on a journey to the world's best holiday.
Thanks for joining me on Luxury Escapes. I'll see you next time to discover some of the world's best holidays. Cheers.
Morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to chat to you today. That's a really important piece of content for us, and I start with content because we all know this, but content is still king. So without beautiful content delivered to the right audience, social media never, ever works. My name's Blake Hutchison. I'm the General Manager at Luxury Escapes. We use social to do two things. Obviously, engage with our audience, but really critically, we use it to sell. And I think if you take anything away from my chat with you today, I want you to decide what is the most important thing you need to take out of social media. Is it to engage with your audience, i.e. have a conversation with them, understand what they like about your content, who you are, the product you sell, or is it actually to derive real revenue? So in a Luxury Escapes context, we're very lucky. Not everyone has as exciting a product as a beautiful hotel somewhere around the world. So I fully appreciate how lucky we are to have that content in our favour. But regardless, we've made the decision that social is less about engagement for us, and it's more about actually making money. So the critical thing about that is we're a $200 million business. And in a $200 million business, we've been able to amass over 2 million members. But every given day, we launch a new deal. And Facebook alone represents 8, depending on the deal, 8 to 15% of all revenue. That's really, really important to take away. So when you think about the content that you're delivering to an audience, what is the actual objective? Is the objective to acquire a subscriber? If you're going to acquire a subscriber, then how are you talking to that subscriber? Or is your objective to take someone straight into your booking path and get them to consume? In our case, just so you know, we measure everything the same. And that's a really critical message. So if you're distributing something over TV, if you're investing in Google, if you're investing in Facebook, if you're building a subscriber base, how are you measuring all of these channels? And I think this is an interesting thing in a social media conference. We measure social media identically to the way we measure every other marketing spend. It's done on a 30-day attribution window, which means if we spend $10,000 today, in 30 days' time, we will measure the return on investment for that same $30,000. We don't care about 60 days. We don't care about 90 days. Your business will be very different. But it's important to choose how you invest your money and how you're measuring it. And what that's done for us is it's enabled us to build a large customer base, a large partner base of hotels, and then also use Facebook as a chance to record how strong our product offering is. So you can see there, I'd love that to say 5 out of 5, but it says 4.4 out of 5 stars, and that's from our Facebook reviews environment. So if you don't use Facebook reviews, do so. It's a great and easy way to start a reviews platform. There's no required web investment. Quite simply, go to Facebook, download the plugin, talk to your community and ask them to review your product. And that's what we use to talk to our customers and find out whether they like our product or not. So 788 reviews, it's a relatively new initiative for us. Over 1 million people have been on a luxury escape, so you can see that we've just started that, but it's looking up and in the right direction. We have over 1 million fans on Facebook, 100,000 on Instagram, and we've got a growing presence on YouTube. Big numbers, small numbers. Why is this really important? Video for us is new. So before that, we were so heavily dependent on imagery, and we don't have a network or a stable of photographers all over the world, so we were asking our hotel partners, people like the Grand Hyatt here in Bali, to give us their images so that we could talk about the deal, the opportunity to buy in and book into a holiday at the Grand Hyatt, and all we were reliant on was imagery. So what we did is we invested in a small Southeast Asian-based video crew, and we started sending them around to these hotels. We noticed a couple of things. Page viewership on luxuryescapes.com on any given deal skyrocketed. Our Facebook engagement skyrocketed. And then, of course, under advisement from Google, we created our own YouTube channel. And we're starting to get huge amounts of engagement. People are subscribing to our channel. And in some cases, we're receiving well over 100,000 views for a piece of 30-second video content about a hotel. That costs us $1,500. So there'll be some small businesses in the room, and there'll be some large businesses in the room. But the key point there is for $1,500, we're able to produce a video. And that video has changed the engagement on luxuryescapes.com. It's changed it from being an environment where people read huge, long articles about any given hotel to consuming and getting context around the experience. It's quite important. One of the mistakes we made, I deem it to be a mistake, and I'm sure it's a healthy debate in the room, is we created one global community for our Facebook environment. The issue with that is our office of 120 staff is based in Melbourne, Australia. When they speak, they tend to speak like an Australian. When they're on video, they tend to use slang, and we're quite casual in our language. And when we represent that video content or that imagery or that written content to a community globally, we often miss the mark. So think about who your audience is and whether you want one global group or you want to separate that out into your regional or geo focuses. So literally next week, we are disintermediating, if you like, ourselves, and we are creating disparate or siloed groups, and we're going to have to convince all of these people all over the world to try and move into their local groups, and we're going to have to start to educate them as we would our Australian audience, but with a local voice. Social is really, really critical to start thinking about whether you're a group, a global audience or a local audience, and then adopt your social strategy accordingly. Okay. How important do I deem social? I deem it to be the single most important attribution channel for us in 2018. $50 million in sales is attributed to Facebook and Instagram alone. So if you're not investing in social, you should. If you haven't decided what your objective on social is, you should. And if you haven't decided what content you will deliver across social, you should. Now, of course, it is different for each industry, and travel looks very, very good in a social environment. But I think a little bit later on in the panel, we're going to touch on some examples of product that is nowhere near as exciting as travel, which still looks good in a video context and still looks really, really great in a social context. So we invest, and we invest small amounts of money, and we try to test results very quickly. So this was our first ever Maldives campaign, or Maldives, however you say it, addressing our social audience for luxuryescapes.com for a no-name property. Happens to be a beautiful property, but it's a no-name property unlike the Grand Hyatt here in Bali. It's called Finalu. We invested in some video footage. We took all of their images and we dropped them on our social feed. And we made very clear reference to where you can find the deal on luxuryescapes.com. So it's very much image-based. The other thing we did is we developed a little bit of, we downloaded a little bit of web technology, and we simply were able to grab all of the images that the hotel has provided us and drop some commentary over the top about how that experience is going to be perceived and what you're going to experience in the Maldives. This was our first effort at such an aggressive Facebook spend. We spent $20,000. We reached 2.3 million people. There are 598,000 views of those 3 posts. And we delivered $1.3 million in revenue. As I said, we measure everything on a 30-day attribution window you can see up there within 28 days. The critical thing about that was most people in the organisation were against the $20,000 spend. But of course, you're never selling it into the organisation as a $20,000 spend. You're selling it into the organisation as a $500 spend. You're then looking at the results and you're tweaking your audience profiles. You're tweaking the geo-targeting and you're tweaking your messaging. And if it works in your interests, continue to invest. We don't have marketing budgets at Luxury Escapes. Why would you have a marketing budget if something's profitable? So we continue to invest as long as we're seeing a return on ad spend which we deem appropriate. The ratio we tend to look for is about 1 to 5. Okay. Social is incredible from a customer service standpoint. Does anyone in the room actually use social to fix customer problems? A few or no one, hard to see, a couple. All right, so we use Salesforce, and we use a Salesforce tool called Social Studio, incredible tool, and we obviously connect that to Facebook. So we have our community managers, and those community managers are orientated to content, and obviously ad sales, like we saw in the Finalu example. And then we have a single staff member, just one, dedicated to customer support. So they are an extension of our customer experience team, which is on the phone or email, and they are operating on Facebook alone. And what they're aiming to do there is convert people from inquiry into a lead. They're also aiming to help people on the ground. Facebook's made it so easy for us to communicate. So when someone is staying here at the Grand Hyatt Bali and they have an issue with maybe their Luxury Escapes package or checking in or something like that, we encourage them to talk to us via Facebook, and we can resolve that inquiry far easier via Facebook than we can the phone or sifting through thousands upon thousands of emails. So to some extent, social is amazing for sales, and to some extent, social is amazing for customer experience. And I think you want to invest equally in both, but critically, the skill sets are entirely different. You can't have one person doing all of those things. The other thing is, we invest really aggressively on the advice of Facebook and Google. Now, I'm not saying that they walk into our office and tell us about all their new technologies. We're just subscribing to their developer blogs. You guys should do the same. And they will tell you exactly what's coming up and how you can use it. So when we heard about Facebook Live, we thought, hang on, given that there's a company called QVC in the US, which is still one of the largest retailers in the world, and is a home shopping network, maybe we can turn our million-strong community into a group of shoppers who watch us every Wednesday night as we talk about 5 great deals that are upcoming. So we built a little studio in our office. And so the critical thing about that comment is you don't need to invest. We literally had 2 chairs. We bought what's called a Meebo camera. A Meebo camera will connect directly to Facebook Live. We just bought another one for YouTube Live. And you can sit there and you can film yourself communicating to an audience with very little investment. So I'll show you a couple of examples.
Welcome everybody, my name is Trent and we're here for a very special episode of LE Live. We're talking all things New York, the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps, and I absolutely love New York. I went there last November and just adored it, and I'm here joined by my very special colleague and co-host, Sonia. Welcome.
Hi Trent, thank you. Hi everyone at home watching, thank you for tuning in. As Trent said, we're talking all things New York, and it's actually one of my favourite cities too, Trent.
Cosmopolitans, pizza, you name it.
Definitely, It's where the Cosmo was created, right? Yep. So for those at home today who've been to New York or who want to go to New York and just want to share your experiences and tips with us, please send through us and we'll read them out throughout the show.
Good afternoon and welcome to the most beautiful harbour in the world for a very, very special episode of LE Live. I'm Sophie Faulkner and this afternoon I'm joined by Gordy Bain from Luxury Escapes for LE Live at Sea. How you doing?
Ready to cruise.
Absolutely. It looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I mean, we're in Sydney, one of the most beautiful ports to cruise in and out of. And of course, we're aboard Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas.
Absolutely. What do you love about cruising?
Well, I think the most important thing about cruising is that you unpack once.
Okay. They were 2 very different examples. When I went to our founder and I said, hey Adam, I'm going to build a little studio inside the kitchen, he thought I was a lunatic. But what we've now done is built this audience that every week tunes in to hear our staff talk about travel. Now, amazingly, Trent and Sonia, the first 2 individuals talking about New York, they are not media trained. The important thing about using video in a social environment is it doesn't need to be perfect. You need a hell of a lot of passion. You need to know a lot about the product that you are delivering. But Facebook Live and YouTube Live are designed to be always on technologies. Grab them and use them and deliver a message. Be passionate, be knowledgeable, but you don't need to be a media presenter. You don't need to have training. You can simply stand up and deliver a message, and that message can go for 5 seconds or 5 minutes. That New York example delivered 100,000 views. 100,000 views. That's really quite extraordinary for 2 stools sitting in a kitchen in an office in Melbourne, Australia. Now, as that has grown, we've started to invest more. That last one was last week. That was on Ovation of the Seas. Sophie Faulkner absolutely is media trained, but now we know it works and we're willing to invest more in it. And Gordon is a very accomplished member of our sales team who knows the cruising industry very well. So we've matured and we've evolved our ability to produce content on the fly very quickly. That second one had a professional crew, but the results are the same. We've had 7 million combined views. We've had 2,300 comments. And I am now literally treating this as an opportunity to talk to our customers in a live environment and help them. So we were doing an episode on Bali, and someone chimed in and said, hey, Blake, I don't care about your deals. Tell someone in your customer service team to answer my question now. That's live. And I said, we've had an inquiry from a customer. I addressed the customer over the air, and I said, could you please type in the question you've asked our customer sales team? Now, that's a big risk. Not everyone in the company should probably do that, but obviously, with overall responsibility, I backed myself in to know how to answer that. But that is an incredible opportunity that is so hard to come by. A one-to-one engagement for an online company. We don't have retail stores. I can't see the faces of my travellers. And Facebook Live has given us this opportunity. So $8,000 in sales per show is complemented by an opportunity to talk to our customers face-to-face, or one-to-one, I should say. So with a minute left, I want to leave you with a couple of very, very simple points. The first one is focus. If you have a stable of products, just choose one or two that you feel very, very comfortable representing in a social environment. You don't have to cover everything. Talk about them regularly and get some baseline data. That baseline data should be based on your objectives. Is it new subscribers you're trying to acquire? Are you just trying to engage your audience? Are you trying to derive sales? Choose what your objective is, focus on it, deliver that content, watch it, measure it, and then change it up and see what happens. Variety. Once you've got that baseline data, start to play around with some other stuff. Think about something like Facebook Live as a means to communicate. Think about something like YouTube. Fred said before, you can interview, and interviews are really powerful in a social environment. So think about whether you can interview your customers. Think about whether one of your colleagues can interview yourself and broadcast that. The tools are out there. Target. We made the mistake of having a global audience when we could have easily gone into a geo-local environment. Now we're having to reverse engineer that, hire teams or little scrum teams in each of these markets and make sure that we talk to people in a local context. So make sure you know who you're targeting. And challenge yourself. All these social media environments continue to evolve. Once you're doing something right, don't just stop there. Follow the Google blogs, follow the Facebook blogs, start to invest and do something really interesting that is different to what your company has historically done. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Obviously, we've got a panel coming up. Thank you very much for your time.